somebody's life depends on what I'm going to do that day.
Get alive. Let's go.
Let's lock in.
You already made this mistake. Let's refix it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Let's Freakin' Rodeo podcast. Kind of a funny moment we're going to have to warn y'all about.
My man, what do they say? Kryptonite. So I just want you guys to know about my co-host Cole.
Yes.
His kryptonite is going a long period of time without seeing his old lady, his girlfriend, his significant other, his better half. Okay.
So we're recording this podcast. Backstory: we're recording this podcast in Pendleton. It's September. It's a long rodeo year, guys. I don't go the whole time. But I do go half of the time.
He was worn out. Hadn't seen his old lady.
Hadn't seen my lady.
Was flustered, trying to book flights, get rides, etc. Just living a little bit of ounce of what us rodeo cowboys do every day. But that's why he's the man behind the camera.
And as a result of my blues, I forgot to hit record on the camera.
We have no camera
video.
footage of our podcast with Cody Webster.
Yes.
Thank the good Lord we got his camera worked on Cody, but not on us.
Thank the Lord. If it was somebody's camera that needed to not work, it was ours. But we have the man Cody Webster's footage. And so as a result, we have audio. We're going to have to get a little creative and put just a little graphic. When we're talking, there's going to be a little graphic, a little picture. It's going to act, just ignore it. Just ignore it. Act like it's not there. And you're going to enjoy the podcast just like you would any other podcast. And I don't want to hear another word about it, okay? Because it happens.
It ain't happening again.
It ain't going to happen again. I don't want to hear nothing in the comments about it. Okay?
I want all you guys to roast this dude.
No. This is a one-time deal. Okay, it happens to the best of us.
Like I said, I'll make sure that he doesn't go that long without seeing his old lady. It won't happen again. She knows who she is. Thank you for keeping him straight and on track. He's been so focused, so successful because of you. We thank you.
I appreciate you, baby. We'll see you on the podcast. Cody, man, we appreciate you doing this. To start off, I guess a good one would be just, who is Cody Webster?
Man, I don't know. I mean, Cody Webster, I still feel like I'm that 18-year-old kid that just breaking out and trying to get going, and just the whole entire fire, man, just started, and then it's like poured gasoline on it, and my career just exploded, and it's been fun. It's been really neat to go through all the trials and errors and, thinking back to the good old days, getting started, going to every practice pen that I could, to a point where it was practice pens 4 or 5 days a week with 2 or 3 days, performances a weekend, either being high school, junior highs, or open bull ridings, or just anything that I could get into, man. And it was literally turned into fighting bulls nearly 7 days a week for I don't know how long, and man, going to I don't know, there's some crazy stories. Like there used to be this practice pen we used to go to, and it was in a junkyard. Like you would drive through a maze through the junkyard, cars and tractors and a junkyard. And there's this little tiny bullpen back there, and man, Jody Wright and them guys used to bring over some big 4 or 5-year-old bulls that never seen human, and rest is history. I mean, there's tires hung on the fence. There's bathtubs over in the corner that they were using for water troughs, and just wild off the record stuff, and some big, hot, mean bulls. And that's just another Tuesday.
I mean, even before that, how did you get into rodeo?
I don't know, man. I get asked that a lot, what was the day, you wanted to be a calf roper, or, what's the day you wanted to be a bullfighter? And I'm like, I never had the day where I looked at it and went, oh, I think I want to try that, or that looks cool. I never had that day. It literally, my mom talked about being just a little tiny baby, taking her lipstick and painting my face, running through the house, fighting bulls. And I was always attracted to it. Every Halloween, I was a bullfighter. Every day, I was watching bullfighting. I was going to be a bullfighter. It almost feels like it chose me in a way,
I mean, what was the initial exposure to rodeo? Was mom, dad, did they rodeo? What was it?
My dad and all them rodeoed, like high school rodeoed and whatever. They were always working and in a poor family, so it was just kind of when they could go is what they got to do. But like I was kind of, mom and dad split up, things were kind of, parted there for a while, but it still was just in me. It was just, that's what I was going to do, and then I was always had a pair of baggies, finally made some baggies, and, that's what I wore from the time I got home from school or, whatever. And, I had a tire swing. I got a chain and put this tire in the tree and wired a bull skull to it. And that's what I could push that tire swing and imitate a bull running at me, I did a lot of bullfighting in that front yard on that tire swing. And then, fast forward, a couple years later, a guy called from down the road and said, "Hey," called my mom and stepdad at the time and said, "Hey, I got a goat that's mean. I need some help getting him loaded and get him to the sale barn." Well, it ended up breaking this guy's back. At this point, I'd already been wanting to be a bullfighter, and the guy my mom was married to was a bullfighter, and I went snooping around out there's an old camper way in the back of that pasture, and I went snooping around back there, and I mean the ceiling's caved in. It's just massacred. It's just an old, it needed to be burned, but got to snoop around. I found this gear bag, and I was like, "Man, what is in here?" And hit the zipper open, and there's like 13 pairs of bullfighting baggies and all his shirts. Everything that Kenny had was in there, and I was like, wow. And so I get this gear bag, it's as big as I am, and I drag it up to the house, and they come home and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I found these bullfighting clothes, so long story short, that was all kind of already going on, and so this guy with his goat, calls and needs help getting his goat loaded because he broke his back on this goat, hooked him right there in the alleyway of the barn. And so we went and got this goat, and like this thing was sure enough mean. Like I've got pictures, and I don't have any videos, but I got pictures of fighting this billy goat. And like there every day I put a barrel out there. Every day I was out there messing with this goat, and he stunk. By the time I was done, I stunk, smelled like a goat. But that's what I literally got started on was a goat. And we'd catch like a cool day or something, and like he'd be kind of back there in that back corner, and I'd hop over, and it's just a barbed wire, probably a little half-acre trap, but all barbed wire. And I had a little ladder set up that I could crawl up and then jump over. And once you were in there, it's 5-strand barbed wire fence, you're in there, And
man, that's a good way to get into it. But I mean, he broke an adult's back.
Yeah, broke a guy's back.
Like you were in there fighting for your life.
So, long story short, you jump over the fence, and like if it's kind of hot or whatever, like, he would run at you and be just about right for a kid to be messing with. But like there was multiple days too, like cool weather had hit, and I mean, as soon as your feet hit the fence, here this joker comes, and I mean, full on like Mexican fighting bull. A lot of miles out of that goat, man, and just working on what I seen on TV, and then fast forward past that, a year or two, my grandpa, my uncles and them ended up putting in an arena there at my grandpa's place, and it was just for sale barn bulls and calves. Grandpa always loved having a couple sheep around for all the little kids, and it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday night deal that we did every week, and we got that arena built and put those chutes in, and, Pat and everybody was, it was just the perfect storm for a kid that wanted to get started fighting bulls, because like I rode and tried to rode some steers and calves and got on a couple junior bulls, but it's just because that, like, I had to go in order to ride, in order to go to the bull ridings or the rodeos. It was just kind of how it was. I had to be doing something. I couldn't just be lazy, or whatever. And yeah, I just wanted to go, wanted to be a part of it, and I remember always like, well, it's your turn to get on, and man, I hated it. I'd kick over there and hang my rope and get on, and then but as soon as I hit the ground, man, I was ripping them shaps off and leave my spurs on, but I was bullfighting again, and for 5 or 6 or however many that would buck in between me, it was perfect. Then it's just back to, damn, here we go again. I gotta get on one,
It's crazy because a lot of kids will be excited about getting on, but I mean, it's just what you were made to do.
I mean, it was. That's what I dreamed of. That's what I studied. That's what I watched. That's what it's just from the time. I mean, I was a little bitty kid and I was with my Aunt Peg, and she had a black high horn Bramer cow that she got from the sale barn, but she had some nurse calves and different stuff, and she's kind of hooky a little bit, not bad, but so finally I'm like, I want to feed her, and so I'll go walking out there with my feed bucket and shake it, and here this Bramer cow comes up, and I dump that feed, and I looked over and I smacked that cow right on top of the head, and I mean, she put it on me. Little bitty kid ducked me over there underneath the fence, and then about the time she was really going to hit me hard, I rolled underneath, and Peg come over with another feed bucket and got her to go on, but I mean, that was little bitty kid, and then the goat, and anyways, I got that's the first time to get some snot blowed on me, and ever since I've been hooked, and so then, they're at Grandpa's place, we're bucking bulls, a couple days a week. So, being 10, 11 years old, I could be involved. I could be out there fighting bulls, but in a really controlled element, was never in a way to, I mean, you could get hurt. Don't get me wrong. We can get hurt doing anything, but it was controlled, with very low level stock. And, I just, the big Wrangler, or not the Wrangler, but the Rex Doan's freestyle bullfights world championships are right there in Ada, Oklahoma, and Ardmore, Oklahoma. So like twice a year, we'd get tickets or whatever, and I could go down there, and I'd always take a video camera with me, and I would video the bullfights. And instead of coming back and trying to watch cartoons or, or something like it, I'd put them on VHS, and that's what I'd watch. And then if we went to another rodeo or bull riding or whatever, I could film, or get grandma or somebody to film the bull, at Grandpa's, and then put all that on VHS, and then just sit there and just play it on loop. And I ended up going, like, it's kind of strange, but went to the library one day, and there was a rodeo book in there that was like a rodeo series, and I pull out the one that's got bull riding on it and flip through the pages, and it's got Frank Newsom, the red, white stripes and Frank Newsom. And I'm like, man, that's a guy I like study, watch on the rodeo bloopers, and, picked up here and there and seen him at some bullfights, the Wrangler bullfights and stuff that was on ESPN and everything. And I'm like, dang it. So I checked that book out. Still haven't returned it. So I remember having that book, and then we went to the local Paul's Valley to the open bull riding that they have there, just 10, 15 minutes from the house. I'm sitting there with my video camera and filming the bulls load and just kind of up above the chutes, and I look down the alley, and here comes the bullfighters, and it's the red, white stripe, and I'm like, that's Frank Newsom. So I'm filming him, and I'm like, I mean, it's like I can't explain how cool it was, because like I've seen him in these books, I've seen him on TV, I've all the wild crazy wrecks, getting hooked, the PBR, and then here he comes walking down the alley, and I filmed him all night long and didn't have a videotape in that camera.
No way.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
I bet you've done that.
Yeah, I've been there before.
So like, I'm just mesmerized, man. I'm like, still don't know there's not tape in my camera. I'm pumped. I'm like, man, I got to video Frank Newsom. I got my own video of Frank Newsom. And so I tell my mom, I'm like, that's that's Frank Newsom. And she's like, well, Cody, I used to babysit his wife. Like, I know Dia. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No. And she's like, do you want to meet him? I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we roll over and mom introduces me to Dia and Frank, and he shakes my hand, and it feels like a dream. I can't believe this is real, And anyways, he's like, well, hey man, like, what are you doing Tuesday? And I'm like, got to go to school. Yeah, I got to go to school. But, other than that, and he's like, what time you get out? And I'm like, I don't know, like 3:00, whatever. And he's like, well, here, we exchange numbers, and he's like, let's get together Tuesday. So I'm like, perfect. So I show up, knock on Frank's door. Mom drops me off, and I got my bullfighting dummy and a pair of cleats knocking on the front door, and the rest is history.
So your mom and your dad, what did they think? Like, did they think it was just a phase or what?
I definitely don't think anybody thought it was just a phase I was going through. I mean, it's for years, from little bitty baby, all I was wearing was my baggies, my suspenders and bandanas, and, go to the little Goodwill store there we had in Pauls Valley and find, cleats. And man, I was wearing cleats all the time, and it was bullfighting 24/7, So like to get to that point, to being on Frank's porch, would be like probably 10 or 11 years old. And, which is, the time the arena had went up at Grandpa's, and, everything was kind of clicking and starting going. And I'd already kind of snuck off to some of them junior rodeos and was fighting the sheep and the calves and the steers, and, was definitely had a knack at it. Like there was something special there to be such a young, and like I've got videos of it now that I go back and watch, and I'm just like, I cannot believe my mom let me get in the fire that I got into at a tiny little kid, but I'm thankful for it now because, meeting Frank and the whole experience, everything that's went on, and then rolling into, all the high schools and the junior high rodeos and all the amateur little bull ridings around Oklahoma and everything. And then being, 15 years old, and like it had been a dream of mine since I was a little kid to go to these freestyle bullfights in Ada. And Frank knew Stanley Foster, and Rex Dunn had brought up Frank. And so, he knew everybody. So he's like, well, and I already been sneaking off fighting a bunch of big bulls, 13, 14, 15 years old. And, like one story that really sticks out to my mind is probably being like 13, 14, and we went to Bucks and Bulls, and they were big bulls, and Frank was there fighting as Lyndall Runyon, myself, and I remember a big white bull, I got tied in with him, and he caught me in the hip and kind of cut me a flip, and I landed right against the bottom of the fence. And it's an outdoor arena, and the wind blew across there all the time, so that dirt had kind of built up by that bottom bar. So it's just high enough to like land, and my arm went through, and that bar is right there, and that bull smashed me and broke my ribs. And man, it hurt like hell. And I got up, and I'm kind of, I'm really hurt, and I can't breathe or nothing. And Frank walks up, and he's like, man, if you don't think you can handle this, that girl over there that's filming, she might let you run that camera. And I'm just like, I mean, it's my idol, and I pull my hat down, and I still can't breathe very good, and I get pissed, but that was a turning point that day that, it was like the pain, the reality, the realness of what I was getting into. I'd been hooked and stuff before this, but not break bones and air gone, can't breathe for a while, like legit pain. And the way he handled that, and I don't know if it was a test, and I think it was now, to you know, hey man, if this is really what you want to do, then it's part of the game. And so fast forward another year or two, like I was at Frank's every day. You know, he was with the PBR, so he'd be gone on the weekends. And so I'd go over and go feed and take care of the horses, take care of the cows, and then, you know, check in with him. But every day that he was home, I was there, and we were either building fence. And no matter what we did that day, no matter how long the day was, we might work till dark. And then we'd put on our running shoes and we'd go run 3, 4, 5 miles, you know. And so again, you know, being that young, you know, I started learning what the workouts was. I started learning what being in shape was. And it was just really just going in his footsteps, but totally what has I feel like has transformed me to who I am, you know.
But I can't help but feel for all the ranch kids out there who got that trauma from missing a gate with their dad pinning cows. I mean.
Oh yeah,
You miss a gate with dad, you're in for it.
No, and Frank, he's simmered down a bit now, but I mean, there's a time there where it was everything we did every day was tense, and it was do the job right, and do the best you can do. And then no matter how tired we are, we start that workout, you do your best, you give your best, you give everything you got, and we're going to get up and we're going to do it again tomorrow.
I mean, in terms of motivation, if you're struggling a little bit, you know, like, what gets you going?
Well, I just think just what really keys me in is now, like I know I've got to put in the extra effort. You know, I'm not old, but I'm getting older. But I've got, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, like somebody asked, is like, well, hey, like, how many bulls do you think you fought this year? And I was like, man, I ain't got a clue, you know. So I went through my date book on the way to the NFR and just totaling up, just, you know, random numbers of what I thought we'd fought at that performance or whatever. And it ended up being like 5,400 bulls, you know, like, and that was just in my book. That's not the practice cows at home or the bulls at home. That's not, you know, going and helping at a school or whatever. Like, that was legit just bulls, you know, that I got paid for to fight to do my job. Was like 5,400 bulls. So I mean, you're talking, you know, easily a couple hundred head of practice cows and bulls and stuff there at the ranch. So, you know, and that's like 180 to 190 performances a year is kind of what I've been clicking in. So I guess that being broke down is like fighting bulls every other day of the entire year.
So what differentiates Cody Webster from every other bullfighter?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really pinpoint. I think, you know, just the timing of my career, you know, there was a lot of older guys that had hit the end of their career and was retiring when I was really getting hot, you know, coming into the PRCA, coming into the PBR. So like I got a lot of really good breaks early. And then also I think like being 15 years old, going to the Rex Dunn's World Championship freestyle bullfights, you know, sneaking out of class, going to Oklahoma City, getting on a plane, flying to North Carolina for the ultimate bullfighting, you know, the freestyle bullfights, you know, getting back to school on Monday, first hour, hey, go to the office. It's something about last week, go to the office. So walk down there and get scolded, you know, because like I tried to do the right thing a time or two to say, hey, like I'm checking out, like I'm gonna go fight bulls, and it was always a hassle. So I would just bolt, you know, just sneak out and just roll. And I remember coming back to school that Monday. I mean, I'm 15, 16 years old. I couldn't even drive, and I remember that principal being like, well, where'd you go now? I went to North Carolina. You went to North Carolina? Yes, sir. For what? I said, well, it was a bullfight. And like he still wasn't believing, and he's like, well, man, I've got to send you home. Like you've done this too much. Like you know, I'm done messing with you. Like you're headed home. And about the time I turn around to walk out, he's like, so like, can you make money? like doing what you're doing? And I turn around and I'm like, cause I had a pocket full of cash. I won the bullfight that weekend. And, I had a pocket full of cash, like $2,800, and for a 15-year-old, that's a lot of dough. So I pulled that wad of cash out, and I'm like, that's what I won this weekend. And he's like, how much is that? And I said, oh, it's $2,800. And he's like, he was kind of like, I just seen the shock on him, He said, man, that's good money, but I still got to send you home. So I roll home for a couple days, and I remember getting back and was headed through the library. And this is when YouTube had kind of just got rolling, kind of getting hot, and that Teen Spirit song was just playing. Like I'd walk by this computer, it's playing. Walk by that computer, it's playing. And everybody's just looking at me. And I'm like, so I stop and look, and the UBF had posted my fights from North Carolina that weekend before, and that was the moment it really hit me. It was like, I'm going somewhere with this. Like and I had that motivation. I got the teachers, I'm not going to say they're against me, but they didn't think that rodeo or bullfighting would be something that, small town Wayne, Oklahoma, everybody farms and ranches and goes home and wake up and do it again, And that was kind of the moment that it really changed, didn't change for me, but kind of when it sunk in, like, boom, we're doing this.
What's the balance you think between, athleticism and technique for a bullfighter?
I don't know about athleticism. I played a little bit of football when I was in school. But man, I just literally it was 24/7, 7 days a week. That's what I did. I trained for it. I found a free weight bench. It was on the side of the road there in town. And, when growing up, it was just me and my mom and my little brother there in town. And, so next thing I've got her stopping by with her car, and we're loading our car down with this weight bench, and somebody had, just was done with it or moved out or got kicked out or whatever. So I'm like, I need that. That'll help me train. So I put it on the back porch, and so I'd go work with Frank and work out with him or whatever. And then, but the days I was there at home, then I had that weight bench, and I'd sit there and do squats and, what I could, and then go run my own route. And, but I think just the amount of bulls that we were fighting at the practice pens at the time, bull riding ain't like it is now. There's a lot more bull riders, a lot more younger kids that wanting to get it started. So Oklahoma, you can make a wrong turn and run to a pen of bulls and a practice pen. And so it, like, literally, like I said, there was a long period there where, go work with Frank during the day and whatever, work out. And then, that evening, go hit a practice pen. And it got to the point where we were fighting bulls literally 7 days a week for, I don't know how long.
I'm videoing you fight bulls last night at Pendleton. And, the other bullfighters, you and the other bullfighters are running in a circle, kind of tapping them on the head. And you're making him spin. Is that just to make him dizzy so he stops bucking? What's the strategy with that?
Well, it, like, to the naked eye, it looks like that exactly how you just explained it. We're just running around the bull, but for one, is if we can keep that bull engaged for another round or two, then there's no question that everybody's safe. So that's step one. Step two, like, you see us getting our hands on their heads, and the biggest key to that is if you get a bull's front feet off the ground, forward momentum stops. So, like, that's controlling. If I can get his head up, his front feet are coming off the ground, he ain't coming forward, and that's a easy way to be able to maneuver and stay in a safe spot, but mainly is if we can keep that bull engaged for another round or 2 rounds, there's no question that everybody's safe.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Your number one priority is the bull rider, but at what point right there are you like, man, I need to worry about myself?
When you're under them. you're not in trouble till you're under them, and it's not the place you want to be either. I mean, that's where the bones get broke. There's hundreds of videos getting throwed way in the air and getting hooked, and like that's the best place you want to be if you've got to take contact with the bulls, get on top of the action, and the action's his head, But man, you get underneath one, that's when things get pretty serious.
I have a video of you getting stomped in Cheyenne in 2023. I'm gonna need you to walk us through it.
Well, he's explaining it right. I mean, it just Tristan made a good ride, but it was that pickup man of Scott Burris's, and we've had this bull multiple years. He's been to the NFR about every year that we went, and like he's smart. Like he knows how to drop them guys to where he can get back to them, and he's gotten us a couple times at the finals, and so it's a bull that's for one's caused pain before, and for two is smart at what he does. And Tristan made a good ride, but the whole ride he just kind of kept inching him on the inside there. And when them guys come off on the inside of that spin, they can feel them coming off their neck, and then the vision's on them. They can already see them before they hit the ground. So everything lined up, man. I hit a sweet gap and got through there good, and he just kind of barely clipped me enough to make me land on, like, knock me down. And so I kind of got rolled up, and when I got rolled up, like we were face to face, and I was on my hands and knees, and I kind of got moved. Well, I knew if I could, at that point, I thought if I could just get up just a little bit to where he can hit me, mid chest or whatever, I knew it'd get me cut out of there. Like he's going to send me. He's a big 1,600 pound, got feet the size of a dinner plate. And so I knew if I could just get up off the ground a little bit, he'd catch me with a horn and fling me out of there. And it worked out perfect as what I was planning, other than he ended up stepping on my foot. So he's got his foot standing on my foot, and then when he hit me, instead of flinging me, it just flipped me right on my back. And then I thought, damn, now I'm in a bad spot. And I seen him coming over me, and I seen that big foot coming right at my face, and I kind of just got rolled, and that hoof went right and crunched my hat. And then the other hoof, I think, went right on my other side, and then he kind of rolled me up in a ball. And I thought, man, I want to be all right. And then that back foot come down, and I felt it compress, and then I just felt stuff start popping and snapping, and Tuck comes running up. I couldn't see, my eyes are closed, and I felt everything break, and I thought that bull was still on me, and I kicked Tuck right between the legs, but he's like, Webb, it's me. And I get rolled over, and I can't breathe. And as soon as I felt all that, I just broke my freaking ribs. And it's kind of a eerie feeling, because I don't know if you've heard, but some other podcasts, but talking is being that young kid going with Frank to his bullfighting schools was at Clyde and Elsie Frost's place. And so I've been in the arena that Lane built. I know his parents, I know his family, and then I've been in Cheyenne since 2015, I think, 2016, 2015. So I've been there a lot of years. So, there's an annual gut check every year when we get to Cheyenne that no matter what's going on outside that arena, somebody's life depends on what I'm going to do that day, But if you're thinking about yourself in this job that I'm in, then you're in it for the wrong reason, and I know that sounds crazy to think, but that's where you got to go, and that's where you got to live. Because when them thoughts start coming in that, well, what about me, or what about, when that starts creeping in, man, then ultimately I think you need to get out, and especially for one, that's what I'm hired to do, but for two, that's 100% the reason I'm there, and what's built in me is because I want to save these guys, and I don't know. It's just that every year at Cheyenne, man, it hits home, it really hits a point where a gut check, you know, like, hey, you still all in? And if you ain't, you need to get out. And so I'm laying there and I can't breathe, and there's just little things kind of cross my mind, you know, and there's a lot of guys, you know, Tristan run back to me, and a lot of guys around me, and it took forever. I don't know how long it took, but I could not, like, my air just would not come. And I just remember kind of spots coming in and just fighting, you know, and then finally I finally got a breath, you know, and I thought, damn, now I'm going to be all right, you know. And Levi walked up, and that's the shoot boss for Stay Smith, and he said, Webb, I know you're hurt. What do you want to do? I said, Levi, I need you to buck this son of a gun right now as I'm hurt. Like, buck him. We had one more bull to go. So, there's Josh Frost. Get it hot, let's go. And we fired that last bull, and then I turned around and I was going to walk out where our locker room is, but that's where, like, all the people sit, where everybody is behind the chutes, and then you got to go up the stairs and over and to sports medicine. So I kind of started that way, and I thought, man, I don't want to see nobody. So I turned and walked back that other direction where you walk straight to sports medicine. And once I got in there, you know, I was getting some breath in my air, but, like, I guess not only the broke ribs, and, like, you know, like, before that, like, I thought I'd collapse my lung, which I never have, but, like, every time I would get a breath, it just felt like popcorn was popping in my back and in my lung. So I was like, I told Doc when we were walking out, I said, I think I collapsed my lung, you know. And I guess I ended up damaging a back muscle in there too, because when we got into sports medicine, my back just kept spazzing, and every time my back would spaz, I could feel all those ribs click, 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 click. And then every time I take a breath, it's just clicking, popping. And they got all their machines out, and my lung ended up not being collapsed or nothing, but it was just all my ribs were popping so much.
Cody, in your opinion, what's the best save that you've ever had?
Oh, man. Top save, I don't know. There's been some wild ones. It's hard to narrow it down. I mean, that save with Cheyenne was, you know, really, really rough, but, I mean, there's been lots of crazy, awesome saves, you know, and hang-ups that I really enjoy working hang-ups, you know, but it's hard to narrow it down to my very best save, because there's been a bunch.
When you get caught under a bull, is there something you're taught to do in that situation, or are you kind of just in the hands of God at that point?
Stay low. It's just total chaos when you're underneath them, and all you can feel is the dirt hitting you, and you're just praying this thing. You know, I always feel like they're going to step on my head, so I'm always kind of like trying to cover my head when I'm underneath one. And then there's times where you're underneath them and it's slow motion. You can see their hooves coming. You can see their nose hitting you, and the snot and the dirt particles, and, you know, it just like the Matrix, like, it just slows down, and you can really see every detail. You know, I'm talking about particles of dirt. But and then other times it's just wild chaos, you know, but it's part of the game.
Tell me again, how many NFRs have you done? Also, how many Bullfighters of the Years have you done?
So I've been selected for the NFR 11 years in a row, and I've won the Bullfighter of the Year for the last 4 years. So
when you hear that, bro, like, what does that mean to you?
It doesn't feel like it. I mean, like, you go back and think about some of the pain and different things, then yeah, it kind of starts adding up. But, like, and I think a lot of it is why I still feel like I'm still kind of working my way up, or whatever it is, that we're fighting bulls so many days. You know, like, right now we're in Pendleton, and I've been home maybe 6 days since June. Same for you guys. You know, probably the same as, you know, you roping calves. Like, how many days have you roped calves in a row, you know? Or, like, it's been almost in the arena every day since June.
For you, man, what's your competition? Is it you against you, or is it you against the bull?
Man, it's changing all the time. You know, the competition is the bull. You know, I want to keep these guys safe. But then there is the times where we're tired, you're beat up, broke bones, or and you've got to somehow, you can't get out of bed, but somehow you get through the day and get warmed up, get moving, and go do your job that night. And I think the biggest thing for me right now is just the mental side of things has changed so much from being younger and that high of doing what you're doing. And I think every athlete's going to run into this, is how to keep tricking your mind into staying at the top of your game. And I think that's different for everybody, but like for me is my biggest deal here lately is just don't make a fight that ain't there. So like it might just be going so routine that it almost feels like maybe I'm going through the motions, and but the minute a wreck breaks out, I mean, we're Katie Bar the door, we're in the middle of it, So like don't make that battle that ain't there. Like you're doing your job, you're where you need to be. It's just, and I think it's become so second nature to picking apart these wrecks before the wreck even happens, before maybe even my brain can even function that, well, we just prevented a wreck, but it's so second nature and so instinctive now that you almost feel like maybe you're going through the motions. You know what I mean?
I feel like almost the attraction of bull riding is the danger. Like we want to see something cool, but we don't want to see someone get seriously hurt.
Oh yeah, no,
isn't that, it's kind of a crazy dynamic, don't you
No,
think?
it is. I mean, but I think that's totally what attracts me to what I do is I know that somebody has went home to their family, or somebody's providing for their family, that we've made a difference, whether the guy's hung up or we shot a gap and got totally blown apart saving this guy and he don't even get touched, like there is days that happens.
I mean, last year at Pendleton Extreme Bulls, a guy literally hits his head on the horn of the bull and gets flung in the air, and it's probably the worst wreck I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was a bad wreck. That bull really whooped him down and helicoptered him out of there, and I mean, that's the reality of what we do, but we got in there, we got that bull picked, we got him to the out gate, and we couldn't prevent that first hit on his back, but we can prevent a lot of stuff after that.
And then even after that, a guy's hand, what do you call it, a hang up? A guy got a hang up.
Yeah, Justin, he got hung up, and you got to get off in the middle of it and get them loose, and man, I do. I really dig a hang up, man. There's just something about the schools, that we're doing now, like, teaching, passing off what I've learned. And like Frank, he is the best at working hang-ups, in my opinion. So I've studied that, from the time I got going with this to now. I still watch his videos and go back and study that stuff. But there's just something about getting in the eye of that hurricane, that you got feet that can knock your head off. You got a set of horns up here that can bust your teeth out, and there's that perfect little spot that you can get up against that bull's shoulder and get it locked in, get your arm underneath that guy's arm, and you're locked in, and there's just something that's, I don't know, and I've got a good knack at it, and it's enjoyable.
Is there a bull that when he comes in the chute, you're like get ready, get nervous a little bit, like, man, this could get ugly?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really game plan. I think if you go to game plan, or you're looking at the sheets and you're checking the draws, but when one rolls in there that's caused pain before, you don't forget him, and then that's where that mental battle of keying in. All right, instantly your brain wants to start saying, well, man, like I'm gonna get right here and I'm gonna have this step on him, and then it's like, shut up, Webb, like shut up, like take it as it comes. And that's what I tell myself a lot, is just take it as it comes, react to what happens, take it as it comes, and to start battling that little voice talking to you, and then you got to really key in to what I need to be seeing when I need to be going in order to be on time to deal with a smart bull,
When I'm watching and you see these bullfighters and you're down in the arena, it's pretty crazy to see y'all, because, I mean, y'all put a jab and a go on them, and y'all run in circles, and all the moves look pretty sweet. But at the same time, they're pretty sketchy.
Yeah, so like there's this, I don't know, man. It goes back to a lot of that tire swing deal. My little brother being not quite big enough to really handle my bullfighting dummy, so he was always trying to cheat me. And there's all these little moves that you would just do in the front yard, because KJ couldn't push that dummy fast enough or cheat me with it. But it was like these little moves that I could put to fool him, And then like I get in a bind in the arena and somehow this move just pops out of my butt that, where did that come from? And it's just, it dates back to, fighting that dummy and just Hail Mary moves that come naturally, and, but the freestyle bullfighting, man, I think it really skyrocketed my career. It really, not only got a lot of notoriety, but it also had me in front of a lot of hot bulls. And when you learn how to handle hot bulls, other bulls become slow, and I think that's a big key.
So what is the criteria to actually win Bullfighter of the Year?
Yeah, so Bullfighter of the Year, I think it's kind of everybody in the PRCA. I think it's the committees, the contestant. I think everybody that's in the PRCA is who votes on the Bullfighter of the Year. But then to be selected for the NFR is the top 20 bull riders. When it rolls in, that's the top 15 that make it, and then I guess they kind of go off the next 5 to make the top 20 in case there's a injury or something else, whatever comes up, that they take 20 guys and they vote, and they whittle it down. So you have to have a minimum of 8 pro rodeos with 20 performances to be eligible to be selected. So then they go through, they vote on everybody that they think they want to protect them. And that list comes in. It's usually 15, 18 guys or something. And then the week after that, they vote again on that selected 15 to 18 guys, whatever it is. They vote that down to their top 5. And then the top 3 vote getters is who gets to go to the finals.
And we've been asking this question a lot. Like, what is the Mount Rushmore of bullfighters for you?
Oh man, I mean, Frank Newsom's going to be on Mount Rushmore. Rex Dunn, I think, is going to be another guy. Joe Bumgardner is another guy that I really, really looked up to. But man, it's hard to really put just the guy, like it's so hard because I've had so many other guys that coming up, that was huge to my impactful to my career. Just being here in Pendleton, I'm working with Nate Justice, Dusty Tuckness. Me and Tuck work a lot of performances throughout the year together. We do basically the entire summer together. And, I owe a lot of credit that at this point in my career, I get to work with the very best guys. And I think that's a lot of longevity in my career. And I think that's another key of being on top of your game is being with other guys that are very elite, that push you to be better, and I owe a lot of credit to the guys I get to work with. I'm on the PBR tour. I get to work with Lucas, Nathan Hart, Austin Ashley, a new young kid that's coming up that's, I've been knowing since he was 8 years old. Now he's traveling and going with us, there's just so many guys that I get to work with that are just elite, and, man, that's a big difference maker.
So I think this is an interesting one. You get a front row seat. Cody Webster, you get a front row seat to watch bull riding that no one else gets. What do you see in, the guys who are in the top of the pack that separates them from, the rest of the guys, the top 5 guys from the top 15, the top 15 guys from the top 30? What separates the elite bull riders from average bull riders?
I think it's like that in any sport. I think your dogs that when all cards are on the table, they're all in. That's what separates Stetson, JB, Kai. There's all these guys that when they run that hand in their rope, they are not quitting until their head hits the ground, and that's the difference day in and day out. And I think a lot of differences in myself, Dusty, Nathan, Frank Newsom, Joe Bumgarner, all your great guys that fought bulls don't second guess falling on the sword. That's there's no question. If somebody's getting hooked, it's going to be me, and if you're getting hooked, I'm getting hooked with you. That's what it is. And that's another thing that, like, a lot of people ask is, like, well, how do I get that break, or how do I get that opportunity? Like, I want to go do what you're doing. I want to be, burning up the road, and it all starts at the practice pen. It all starts when that opportunity arises, whether a guy gets hung up or it's time for you to step in there and take a shot from a big bad bull. The guys that don't hesitate are the guys that constantly keep progressing and moving forward and start getting noticed and start getting hired, And that's the biggest thing that I feel like we fight bulls just as good as y'all do, but maybe you do, but when those opportunities came, how did you handle it? That's the difference maker, And I think that's the ultimately what gets a young kid noticed and going is, and I'm not talking about just causing wrecks just to get hooked, but I'm talking like every time you back in the box, you're going for first. Every time you enter the arena to protect guys, are you getting hooked or are the bull riders getting hooked? That's the difference.
You talked earlier about Dale Brixby and the connection that you had with him. If you want to share that story.
Yeah, so like I knew old Dale before he was Dale, and he was entering the bullfights, going with us. We actually ended up getting our PRCA permit together. We ended up working the bull sale in Las Vegas, which is kind of like the permit challenge deal or whatever. And old Dale Brisby was in there. So I've known Dale a long time, and was there when he was getting started with Dale Brisby and getting the ball rolling. And, like it hit a point to where, there was something going on. There was all these kids are watching me. There's all these kids, asking questions. And I've always kind of, when I was coming up, man, it was a VHS tape and my own camera and trying to get what I could. And so like, it's always been in me that I wanted to put out content that if there's some kid somewhere that can click on my page and go watch it, that, they might become a bullfighter. And bullfighting has give me absolutely everything that I've got. The good Lord blessed me with talent, opportunities, and I feel like I've took that and run with it. And now I've got a ranch. Me and my wife, we've got a lot of ground there in Oklahoma. We're raising fighting bulls. We're got our own brand rolling. Got my YouTube channel going. All these little knickknacks that all stem from bullfighting, and I just remember Dale like really pushing me on, like, dude, you need to start your own brand. Like, you need to start this is what you need to do. You need to do it for you, and he was always in my corner, man. He was pushing me. And when I decided to drop the hammer that we were going to start the Cody Webster bullfighting brand, it was like 5 days and he had me a box of 48 caps with my logo on it. I sat there, it was like I just remember laying there in bed and I was like, man, I want that W. Like, I want my signature W, but like, I'm going to put some horns on it or something, like I'm going to make this logo. And it was like 2 a.m. It just dawned on me. I was like, so I printed off a fighting bull and I drew out my signature in Sharpie real thick. And then I put them horns of that bull on that W and traced out them horns. And that's where my brand come from, is like 2 a.m. And, so then next thing I know, DB's got me a box of 48 caps and with this W on there. And like within 2 days, we're at San Antonio, they're gone. The whole box is gone. Everybody's wearing them. Everybody thinks it's cool. And I'm like, and that's when I run with it. That's when I took off with it. And, I'd already had a YouTube channel just putting like highlight highlight promo tapes on, and then that's when I started filming and really started putting together my saves and, doing everything that we're doing now. And man, it has just exploded, the getting with Dale and the t-shirts and the caps and stickers and just our whole merchandise line. And now we're raising fighting bulls and we're sending fighting bulls, 50, we have like 51 events on the books this year with the fighting bulls. So we built a feedlot at the ranch and there's 180 head of Mexican fighting bulls at the house.
Wow, man. Congratulations. That's pretty badass. I know you've worked a long time and worked really hard for that.
Yeah. Once I decide on something that we're going to do, and my poor wife, I don't know what's wrong with her, but she backs me 100% and we dive in and go full force, and like I talked to a couple of my buddies and I was like, hey, like if you start seeing a semi and a cattle pot, like I'm looking for one. And I didn't ever tell her. Well, next thing I know, one of my buddies sent her this semi and she's like, hey, why is such sending me a picture of a semi? And I'm like, well, we're kind of booking more events and it's hard to get, 20 head of bulls on a 32-foot trailer. And, and I had this vision, and Rex Dunn raised fighting bulls. And I seen a picture pop up that was his old straight deck Peterbilt, and it was decked out in the Wrangler red or the Wrangler blue and then yellow trimmed out, and had Wrangler Pro Rodeo fighting bulls banner down the side of it. And like, it just inspired me. And I was like, I want a semi and I want to have that. I envisioned it. I seen it. And so made it happen. And we're sitting there on, like 10 or 11 bullfights that we have booked throughout the year to haul our bulls to. And then some things kind of come out and we ended up booking another big run of these shows with the Ultimate Bullfighters in Fort Worth every Sunday for another 40 weeks. So that, it just expanded overnight. So we built a feedlot in about 3.5 months, a full feedlot and concrete bunks and water troughs, and there's bulls everywhere.
So last question for you, Cody. What is the pinnacle of success for you?
Man, I feel like I feel like the pinnacle of the success is stepping in the arena and doing my job. And I'm not chasing a NFR titles or chasing this, how many times can I make it or how many times can I be Bullfighter of the Year. I just love and enjoy fighting bulls. And if I don't make the finals, I'm still going to be fighting bulls. If I don't get to go to the PBR finals, I'm still going to be fighting bulls because it's what I love doing, And I think if that's truly where you're at, and same for you, if you're roping calves just to make the finals and you're roping calves just to do that, some point that ain't going to be enough. It's got to be what you love doing.
Well, you gained a fan from me, man, so thanks a lot for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's we could sit here and go for days, about stories and things that's happened and just the whole entire climb, but it's I think when you quit climbing is when you're done, and I'm still climbing, so
Good, huh?
appreciate it.
Work.